Hello, I'm Susan Habib, and with Nafise Asadi Park, we are presenting Livable Cities in Ahmadreza Ahmadi stories for children. First, let me begin with some questions. We know that the main subject is livability, and we believe that livability is a quality of life, is a matter of quality of life. And what kind of quality of life do we shape in our children's minds? What kind of quality should children expect when it comes to architecture and urban life? Children have many ways to getting to know architecture. Children are either future architects or users of architecture. How they can know about quality architecture? So, isn't it better to let them have some ideas about quality architecture? Children's literature is one of the ways to give clues about this quality. This paper aims to analyze Ahmadreza Ahmadi's stories for children from the perspective of how an author's free imagination can provide a wide range of backgrounds for imagining architecture and let children dream about their living spaces through stories. So, we begin with Ahmadreza Ahmadi, his youth, photograph, and then to the end. He was a renowned Iranian poet, author, and screenwriter who was nominated for the prestigious Hans Christian Andersen Award in 2010 and Astrid Lindgren Memorial Award in 2011. For his remarkable contributions to children's literature. Ahmadi is known as the poet of hope and peace. In general, a surrealist mood characterizes his works with a unique blend of prose, poetry, specific fantasies, and imagery. With his rich imagination, he transforms the sounds of a city into vibrant colors, flowers, birds, and horses into humans, and vice versa, creating new worlds for children to explore. His stories have been illustrated by many artists with different styles and published by different publishers. Loneliness, longing for the father who is walking out of the city or village, kindness, gap between generations, and many other are subjects of Ahmadi's stories. While family members, houses, neighborhoods, and Iranian architectural spaces are recurring themes in his works, each story is distinct and offers a fresh perspective, and each illustrator pictures those differently. Since Ahmadi's stories are written in Persian, considering the international addresses, the illustration of his works are reviewed to understand how the peaceful ambience of his works can help in creating livable cities for today's and future generations of children. His stories are plain. The complexity is in the fictional world he creates. This fictional world is global and inspiring. It comes from his inner world and is not nostalgic. Modern spaces like train stations, parks, city squares, factories, barracks, hospitals, and schools are lively spaces in his stories, as we see in these following slides. Please consider that these are works from different books of Ahmadreza Ahmadi and from different illustrators. Some illustrators have more concern and try to give space to the rural, urban, or architectural background in their images. Sometimes they prefer to get the illustrations from their nearby surrounding. Or accompany the author in making the dream house for the main character of the story, and a house that no earthquake, war, flood, or storm couldn't destroy. A home full of colors, flowers, trees, animals, and music. These are from the same book, but I will add more from other books as well. Other illustrators have a minimal look at the urban scenery, while the text or the story talks a lot about the city, its peoples, products, streets, and so on. But the illustrator show just a very minimal part as a city, as you see in this slide. Some reconstruct images of vernacular Iranian architecture, like those in Gilan province with its humid climate, as we see in this slide, and this one, or architecture in hot and arid parts of Iran, like this one, or this one. Some are loyal to the text by the author, while using their imagination, ability, and style. Others may depict a rural context, while the author talks about traffic lights, airports, train stations, nurseries, restaurants, car cemeteries, or other modern urban spaces. Other illustrators might completely disregard the setting, such as this one, where the story takes place in a large, old, abandoned garden from which the book title is derived, yet has his own way of making the reader imagine the garden outside of the house, which in the cold winter gives refuge to birds. A kind of Dali or resembling Dali's work. Meanwhile, his stories take place in houses with Ayvan, which is a porch on a balcony either roofed or without a roof, or a hose, which is a pool usually at the center of courtyards in Iranian houses in hot and arid climate, and gardens, all typical in Iranian house architecture. Children in his stories are capable of changing the world through a kind of magic, which are writing, drawing, and painting, by erasing the word dagger and writing rose instead, or erasing the word hunger and writing wheat instead, or erasing the word war and writing peace instead. In his stories, children are dreaming, sometimes with a simple tool like a magnifier. In this story, the story begins when the mother gives a magnifier to her daughter or son, and she or he begins exploring the objects around her or his in a new context, which is a story with that object. A toy fire truck speeds toward the burning lodging house. Firefighters rescue children and pigeons, men and women. A man in white gives them apples and pomegranates. In the same story, there is a reference to one of the oldest Iranian historic carpets Pazyryk, as we see in this slide. Children in his stories deal with or work in nature, like gardening, or they easily make friendships, synergy, and peace with plants, trees, flowers, and animals. They usually walk in or fall asleep in the wild or a forest. In his stories, fireflies light up a city square or a lost road in the darkness of night, or in the middle of a battle light up the faces of warriors and they realize that they are brothers and stop fighting. These are slides from the same story. Some images, characters, and elements are repeated in Ahmadreza Ahmadi's stories, like the moon, sea, number 7, Nowruz, the Iranian New Year celebration, or Yalda, the longest night of the year celebration. Family members, usually composed of 7, including usually a young boy and sometimes a young girl, who most of the time is the main character of the story: mother, father, brother, sister, grandma, and grandpa. Weekdays, seasons, months, flowers, colors, apples and fishes, rabbits and horses. But one of the fixed characters is a little boy with his mother and a faraway father, whom the little boy and his mother are waiting for. Since the family is important, the house is another element, figure, or even character in Ahmadi's stories. His houses sometimes remind us of the house in 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, which is a home for generations and, like a living creature, has reactions to events around and inside.